All right. Number one, I just started, and I already feel like shit. I felt like shit before. This is the thing about life, is that like you have a day where like you're sick, you try and get over a fucking infection, um, and I go through that, and I make it to the weekend. I'm like, oh my god, I get to enjoy the weekend. I get to enjoy myself. But in Alabama in the fall time, you have to watch a college football team. Like, that's just religion. And I picked Auburn. And in picking Auburn, like, look what I've been fucking given. I'm 30,000 in debt to these fucking assholes, and they can't afford a fucking quarterback better than Peyton Thorne. I spent $70 on this jacket, home field apparel. I believe yesterday, actually, yesterday. It's been one fucking day. As this new jacket smells, shit still smells new. And I paid $70 for it. I'm not asking this like seriously, but if anybody like wants to just credit my account, I threw a tax away already. If anybody wants to credit my account for this terrible fucking investment, it's like asking for a refund on fucking that stock that like disappeared like in the early 2000s, Enron. It's like asking for a refund on Enron. Like, it's not gonna happen, but I'd like if somebody could bail me out $70 on that shit. Um, Again, I'm not being serious, but so other than that, we had an actual game that happened that a lot of people were excited about. I even did the reverse jinx. I did the reverse jinx. I was like, yeah, this is gonna be a fucking cakewalk. I was expecting like a 10 point, 15 point win, not the horseshit 50 point win that a lot of these fucking people that just I think you call it boogin or barnin or whatever synonym you want to go with, but just like smelling the fucking fart of blowing out a team of junior varsity kids last week. Like, literally just blew out the school of the blind, deaf, and dumb. And a lot of people, are, oh my god, well, you know, we don't blow out Mercer or all these other incompetent FCS opponents. Like, we don't do that ever. The passing game must be fit. Freeze four, freeze four, freeze four. Peyton Thorne looks like, in his 6th year of playing football, finally like a semi-competent quarterback. The offensive line gave him time to throw to wide open people who were open by 20, 30 plus yards. Like, wide open. Didn't even have to run the ball. At that point in time, we thought we didn't have to run the ball. Not that we couldn't run the ball. But as the great Kanye West once titled his song as, all falls down, and it fell down badly. Auburn, as I'm sure anybody that follows the sport knows, got the shit kicked out of them by California, 14-21. Again, it's a misnomer. They got the shit kicked out of them. They got bailed out for like the last back half of the quarter by the refs. Anybody that has any decency as an Auburn fan would admit that. If you don't, you are literally just being a scumbag. We got dragged up and out. Literally, Peyton Thorne threw a pick in our what we touchdown. Threw a pick in California's end zone, and it got called back because the refs like, hey, you guys pay all the money, to get Cal out here. You guys. I know we didn't actually pay for it, but you guys, let's just say you paid for it. You're supposed to be the big dog, top 15 program all the time. You had 3 Heismans, 2 claimed national championships, all these SEC championships. You have supposedly amazing top 5 recruiting class coming up for this next year, and what was once a top 1 class in 2026. You got all these accolades, and California just produced Aaron Rodgers and nothing else, and all these liberal jokes, all fucking stupid ass Auburn fans, all this stuff. I'm stuttering with my words. I'm fucking disgusted. I saw someone fucking say, at least Gavin Newsom isn't our governor. Motherfucker, you have one of the worst, most flaccid, feckless. My grandma's calling. Let me take that real quick. Me and my grandma's an Auburn fan. We kind of cracked a few jokes. Like I said, I'm still recovering from being sick. I've been sick all week. Still doing the best I can, but the amount of bile in my gut, in my small intestine, increased by multitudes in the course of what I just saw. It just really it never felt good. Like the first play, I'm watching this, Skybar. The first play, I'm seeing like this almost disastrous like tip pick six, and I'm like, that's a fucking, like, if I remember correctly, That was the throw that was like on third down or so. Peyton was running a little bit. He had Thorne or Hunter ahead of him, and he like chunked it, shovel pass. Hunter had to come back to get to it, try to get to it, got hit. Ball came up, hit him off his foot. But the problem is that like it was a terrible fucking decision by Thorne, like a horrible, horrible. I thought we like remedied that the next drive because the next drive was him throwing like the plays. Actually, I will say the plays on that drive were symptomatic of what the rest of the game became because there was a bunch of those outside the hash deep passes, very high difficulty attempts from Thorne, but he made them. And that just that general like 5 play sequence or so. I believe he went 3 of 5 of about 60 yards on that drive. He finished 14-27 for 165. So basically, the only real product he put on the field all day came in that drive. Like the rest of it was a product, I guess, but a fucking disastrous product. So you move past that. Like that was terrible, right? And that was a scripted drive. Typically coaches script the first 2 drives or so, first couple drives. Gus was notable for this because Gus's teams will look incredible the first couple drives and look fucking terrible for the rest of the game. Well, this looked worse than just about any Gus game, I would say. Not the worst, but like Gus's shitty games like this would happen against Clemson, Georgia, LSU, Alabama. Like the best of the best. Freeze has put out fucking stinkers like this against California, against New Mexico. There's another one. LSU was last year a very feckless LSU defense gloved Auburn. I mean, like this isn't happening against like fucking super teams. And I understand like the talent level is not where it was at that point in time. Kind of mid to end Gus tenure, but like the point being, like it's just like you're seeing the same general recipe, but against far inferior talent. I mean, teams that we are favored to beat by 12 fucking points. You're seeing this play out against, So from there, I mean, the other mid quarters, second and third, I mean, with just California kicking the shot of Auburn. I mean, the score, like, it's only in that stretch 7 Cal, Auburn 0. Like, it's not a massive blowout, but, like, you just have to, like, watch the game. Like, it was literally on the bends of breaking any moment. Like, there's some real breaks. I would say Auburn, like, got hella breaks in this game. And I know that sounds crazy for, like, 4 turnovers. Maybe 5 because Hunter got punched out on the ball. So, maybe 5 turnovers and then more that could have been thrown or caught or not penalized. But Auburn got hella breaks. This could have been Justin Ferguson, Auburn Observer. His Twitter had a stat for that. I may try to find while I'm doing this, but they should have been down by like at least 10 plus going out of halftime, and I would say probably more than that. Just having watched the game, they were dominated in the running game, and while I say that knowing like Cal's running game never really got going, at least in the first 3 quarters or so. They got beat up in that. Let me see here if I can find this. I can't think. I don't think it really even tried. Okay, so here we are. So first half EPA, so expected production on average, I believe that statistic is. Expected production per play, basically. Cal 3.26, Auburn negative 7.45, and there's only Cal 14, Auburn 7. EPA football. Let me see. I'm gonna make sure I got that right here. Sorry, I'm kind of doing some of the expected points added. Okay, so it measures how well a team performs compared to their expectations on a play-by-play basis. So essentially, as you summarize every play, Cal was plus and Auburn was significantly like negative. We'll just call it like that. I can't pretend like no statistic at the back of my head is one of those advanced metrics, but the point being like Auburn was lucky to even being in competition going out of halftime. And, I mean, out of halftime, I think Cal punted pretty early, right? Like, I'm trying to think. Like, I think they punted coming out of halftime. Because they had gotten the ball before halftime. They tried to drive. I think they had a chance to make something happen. And then I think Cal pushed a field goal, I want to say. And I don't think they scored coming out of halftime, but a lot of the things you typically would have a level of execution that a underdog would have against a team that's favored by 12 points, wasn't there after he got past halftime. Like, he went, I believe, 17-19 in the first half at quarterback. That kind of faltered. The game planning was incredible, really, throughout, but it wasn't the precision RPO passing in the second half that littered up the first half for Cal. They did do a really good job of involving their main quarterback in their running game, and then even when he went out, there's some kind of counter run to the quarterback who, the backup quarterback clearly was just more of a running type. They didn't really trust him to throw the ball, but they still got first downs and killed clock with even him and Chandler Rogers. And the running game just opened up in that back half. I mean, obviously our run front was tired. They did do I'll say for DJ Durkin, who I refuse to give DJ Durkin any praise. I mean, that dude shouldn't be coaching, much less like on a team or program as large and as in the visible public eye as Auburn is. It should be a shame to have Durkin or Freeze on their coaching staff. But Durkin did adjust in that second half. They did a lot more press, bring guys like close to the receivers. They came with extra guys, extra blitzers, which I understand why they didn't really want to do that because of like how they were just getting fucking eviscerated in man in the first half. But I mean, it just needed to bring more pressure. Like, he had it way too easy. So I get it. And it worked. I mean, it worked. Like, definitely worked. They only got 7 points after. It could have got a lot more, but they only got 7. And Auburn had a multitude of chances to like put points on the board. So I give the defense. I'm not giving Durkin props, but I give the defense props for bowing up. And Keldrick Falk, like, on a defense that is very young, it's really more so in the front half than the back half. A defense that's very young in the front half relief. Like, this guy looks like an NFL player, like at least a potential NFL player, and there's not, based on what I've seen so far this season, there's not a lot of that so far. Again, a lot of young guys that could be that one day, but I mean, I like Malik Blockton. As far as the secondary, I mean, fuck, dude. I mean, Jaron Thompson, I think his name is. He was a gamer. I mean, he came out there, tried to really hype the team up, lay some wood, pause. Keontae Scott was just... I said at one point after he got ran over in the first half, I think it was, he's having a Christian Tutt type of day, which to me is like... I think Christian Tutt's pretty much like the low point of an Auburn secondary player that I remember. Like, there may be worse... There definitely probably is worse guys that are half late for Auburn secondary, but like Christian Tutt to me is just like the loud that type of bad, and you really have that like as a secondary guy unless like you're a cornerback, and he wasn't a cornerback. He was a safety, nickelback, occasional cornerback, but he wasn't a cornerback 1, cornerback 2. That wasn't him, and it was still like you could just like feel his not goodness on the field. And Keontae's gotten the same way. Like, I know Scott moved to cornerback this season, but that guy like shouldn't be playing cornerback. And I say this like I'm not trying to be an asshole or anything like that. I'm not trying to be mean to any players. Even Peyton Thorne, I'm not trying to be mean to anybody, but like he just cannot play cornerback. Like, that's just not what he can do. I'm glad he came back. I mean, we needed him, but like he just can't play cornerback. What other points? The offensive line was terrible. Like, and Freeze, to his credit, and Freeze does is to protect himself, not to be like transparent. People can see through this if you're not like 5 years old. Now you can see through it and still admit that he's right. Like, I understand Freeze doing this to protect himself. Like, he's doing this because he doesn't want to take the blame for incompetency. But like, he's right at the end of the day. The offensive line was a problem as reported in the practice sessions, in the offseason, whatever. And they look bad. They look horrible. In run blocking, they look just generationally poor. And in pass blocking, they look generationally poor, but like not as poor. Because it's hard to look. Actually, they probably do look. Because I mean, like, Peyton Thorne can move around, right? Like, his vision, his processing is not the best. Like, there's some guys who can run that don't have the best processing. Bo Nix at Auburn was kind of like that. It wasn't nearly as bad as Thorne's, but like a lot of times you see Bo Nix, like, he can move, but like he would scramble backwards and back and just do like circles. But Nix also had assets to level athleticism that like Thorne does not have, right? Like, Nix could do that and still like give you a neutral play or like give himself enough time to throw the ball away. Thorne can't do that. Thorne can move enough to like not get hit immediately because there's guys already in his face, but he's not like going to break like stride away from guys. Like that's not gonna happen. That's not his game. He's not that fast, but he's got like decent straight line speed, right? If he didn't have what he did have though, like he'd probably be sacked at least 7 times in this game, and that's like the only reason. Like if I was going to give Freeze any credence for like leaving Thorne out there this entire game, which is hard to do so because he shouldn't have. Even with what I'm about to say, this offensive line would have allowed Hank Brown to get murdered, terrorized. And I know for a lot of times we wanted last year holding Gardner to get reps because like Robbie clearly wasn't it, and then Thorne was more or less what he was today last year. So it's like Gardner, who has no mobility, but is supposed to be a pure passer, like it's like, hey, throw him out there. But then you'd be like in your head, like, well, like if the offensive line's letting like Peyton Thorne and Ashford get ate up, like what would they? And this is like it's just a hypothetical that may never get answered, but like more likely like Hank Brown would get eviscerated. Going against their ones while they're still trying to like win the game, would probably get eviscerated more likely. And I still know that's enough of an excuse to be like, okay, let's just put Peyton, who clearly like Peyton didn't have it at a certain point in this second half. Like I'd say probably most of the fourth quarter just gave up, right? Like just you look in his eyes, people noted it. I saw it on the forums I post on. I'm sure other people saw it where they reside at. Clearly just didn't have it. Didn't have it, did not want to have it, did not want to be out there. And I do think that's something that matters. Like when a coach cannot read that. And Freeze has not read that in Thorne many times. This isn't the first time that I've seen Thorne quit on his team, at least visually speaking. I don't know if he's actually like going there sulking or anything like that. It still seems to like be like somewhat liked by his team, his teammates, the guys that matter in the offense. But like it's very clear like he's a very up and down guy emotionally, as I think many people would be if they had to play for what's been on the field the last couple of years. But like I'm not absolving Peyton Thorne. Again, I'm not being a hater. I'm not trying to be mean. He's like one of the worst Auburn quarterbacks that's like played for Auburn. And this all coincides with Auburn being as fucking bad as it's ever been. So it's like I'm not taking that away from the situation. I'm also supposed to be trying to go to a coffee shop. That coffee shop closes, I believe, in 20 minutes. So I won't be going to that. But yeah, the point being, I missed out on a fucking a coffee Saturday, to watch Auburn suck ass in center stage in the middle of everything. I mean, just fucking terrible ass product. But yeah, I mean, when you're as bad as they are overall, like the head coaching has been fucking terrible. Brian Harsin should not be playing or coaching football ever again. Hugh Freeze definitely shouldn't have been, and nobody else wanted Freeze at the team that paid him $6 million a year. Yellow, what's his name? Yellowwood, yeah. Yellowwood, fuck the team. Yellowwood paid him $6 million a year. Unfortunately, in this oligarch situation that most colleges exist in, the Barons won a situation. The oil Barons got their head coach, and kind of like many times before, our board of trustees and our donors are not good at making football decisions, as we've seen many times before. We have one of the, like, as far as track records go, one of the absolute worst board of trustees. Just fucking terrible. But yes, you take that and you look around. You look at what you got out there, and you look at Hugh Freeze being just horrible. Really, I've used that word a lot of times, Sarah. Abhorrent, a vagrant, flagrantly terrible, flamboyantly fucking feckless as an offensive. I wanted to go for the alliteration as a play caller. I mean, if you look at that game plan, dude, it mirrors exactly what happened that first game. It's just those plays didn't happen. They didn't work. And once they didn't work, we had no backup. It's just like, it really is, like, people want to say, like, Gus is this fucking, like, really bad individual as a coach. And I understand Gus, like, kind of the downfall happened while Gus was here. Like, I understand people kind of want to give Gus like the Bush kind of George Bush, like kind of like that's what like oh my god, it was so good in the first couple years of George Bush. I think like he kind of just went towards the back half. That's kind of like what people would assign like Gus as being, but it's worse than Gus because like Gus was this, but we're running the ball right. Like for Freeze, it's like I'm going to force these timid RPOs that are not really like RPOs because like generally if you play CFB 25, as a lot of people have done, RPOs are generally used for quick hitters. We use RPOs primarily as like post and like 15 plus routes. And a ton of these like play actions. I don't know why we ran play action after a certain point. I really don't understand because like obviously Cal didn't feel the run. It's like what the fuck are you doing play action for? But these play action like post routes and streets and seams and all this shit that like 25, 30 yard like passing plays. And Freeze like the fourth quarter interview like, oh well yeah, I mean the team just isn't blocking for Thorne and the plays are there to be made. But it's like, bro, please, it's been 3 quarters of this shit. Why would you keep on calling it? Adjust. If they can't fucking block enough time to get those fucking 80-yard passing plays to work, then fucking adjust. They never adjusted. Never did it. And he's a very uncreative as a run coordinator, if you want to call it like that. And run plays, that's where like, Gus separates to me. Is that Gus was fucking bad when it came to like the halfback dives on like early downs. Very like phoned in, obvious like play calling tendencies Gus had. But the thing is, like, Gus was a run first guy that like was creative running the ball. It wouldn't work because he couldn't recruit offensive line with the piss, and he couldn't keep offenses or defenses honest with the lack of a passing game. Like everything around the running game is kind of what befell the running game with Gus. But like, actual play designs were not like that bad. For Freeze, it's like everything around the passing game is good. Like except Thorne, obviously, and the offensive line, I guess. Like two really supporting components of it, I suppose. Like the receivers are there, right? They have some real innate route running ability. But his play designs are fucking terrible. Like, and maybe not the play designs itself, but like what he uses those play designs is fucking terrible. Like if you're throwing out the same series of deep passes after deep passes, like it's not going to work, right? There wasn't enough quick hitters, enough check downs, all that shit. There wasn't enough of that. And I'll give him some credence in that, like, the drive after we got the touchdown, the first touchdown, was a ton of short, quick hitters that Thorne couldn't hit. But hey, you know who's the head coach that can control if Thorne's out there? The same guy calling the fucking plays, and Freeze decided to leave Thorne out there. So I'm not blaming him for that. He can call the plays, he can sub Thorne out if he's really that fucking bad. So that's on Freeze as well. They're both on Freeze. Yeah. I don't really go into like a meltdown situation, which I kind of expected I would when I started this video, but it's not meltdown worthy. Like it's just a very clear level of inability that was displayed very early in this game, and it never comfortably got above that ceiling. Like Auburn at times felt like they could maybe threaten to make it a 1-score game. No, they didn't. They really never did. No, the best the Auburn plays in the first like 5 minutes of this quarter. And the first 5 minutes of the first quarter, first 5 minutes of the game was the peak of Auburn. It never really got better than that. And that's why it's so easy to kind of sit here and just kind of meander and say it as an effectless way because, like, truly the emotion, ran out very early in the game. Like, you're just sitting here awestruck at how bad it was. Now you're just kind of like, it's like when you see, like, a car catch on fire, you're just like, I hope nobody was in that, because, I mean, the surprise is going to run out at some point. You're just like, oh, my God, the tragedy, it starts kind of really setting in. And that's where, yeah, I mean, you've seen the tragedy happen. And you're just kind of like, wow, this happened. And now you just have to, like, kind of feel bad for those who had to partake in it, which was all of us. All of us had to, like, be here and watch that piece of shit go on. And, hopefully my heart will go on. But Auburn competing this season won't. Auburn will not be. All those delusions about 9-3 and everything these podcast people sell you. Like, I know they have to sell, viewership, really. They have to get viewership. They have to sell home field merchandise and sponsors and all that shit and ads and all that. They have to do whatever they do to get you to stay there and watch the game. I'm not really faulting them on that level because I mean, if you're not like 7 years old, you should be able to control your emotions to the point where like when you're being fed bullshit, you can kind of perceive it. Like when you're seeing Locked on Auburn tell you they're like we can beat Oklahoma and we can go 9-3 and 10-2. I saw 10-2 on Locked on Auburn. I haven't seen it anywhere else, but I've seen it on Locked on Auburn. When they're saying that shit, like just take it as like the most optimal case of all time, and a podcaster having to get you to watch this podcast so he can continue putting food in his own mouth, his family's mouth. I'm not mad at that, but like, there's people who are actually like sit there and tell themselves like, because we beat A&M by 70 points and because we have a top 5 recruiting class, like we're gonna be fucking good this year. And unfortunately, those people like are fucking devastated. Like I'm saddened because Auburn has been a waste of a fucking investment for me as a football fan for 5 years, and I'm going to keep on watching because I love Auburn for a reason outside of football. But like, I'm sitting here like blowing a Saturday. Like you only get so many Saturdays in your 20s, and a lot of people that are in that stadium blew a Saturday in their 20s, and they probably have just been doing this anyway. They've been doing that, watching some kind of football event, just kind of killing time until 9 p.m. or so. They're going to Sky Bar, and I mean, I don't think a lot of them, like, their time is as valuable as like when you get to the back half of their 20s. So you're like, holy shit, 25. This isn't a Sky Bar Saturday. It's a how can I fucking figure out my life Saturday. But it's still Saturday in your 20s, all the same. And I blew mine watching Auburn blow their fucking load in the first quarter against California and the Golden Bears. And yeah, it's just a bad season. It's going to be a bad season. I do think that if they try quarterback change, it will inspire some level of re-buy-in, some level of recommitment. But if it's just throwing Thorne out there, I do imagine that we get in a situation kind of like 2020 Bo Nix, where people just kind of check out. That happened around the Georgia State game for Bo. The LSU game kind of resuscitated him. That would have been 2021, actually, I'm thinking about. No. Yeah, 2021. Yeah, it happened to Bo, and if it happened to Bo, it could happen to fucking Peyton Thorne. I mean, Bo had one of the best freshman seasons for an Auburn quarterback, which is saying a lot about Auburn quarterbacks. But he did have that, and Peyton does not even have that to kind of rely on. So it's going to get bad. It's going to get really bad. Oklahoma's going to beat the shit out of these guys. Georgia and Alabama probably will not allow them to score if Peyton Thorne is out there. I mean, they may still score anyway, but like, this isn't like Jordan Hare Auburn. Like, people can be like, oh my God, it's a rivalry game. Auburn and I've seen it. In Athens and Tuscaloosa. No. So probably I would say probably a 7-5 season is like a ceiling. Maybe you beat A&M if you kind of got your running game figured out a little bit more. Your secondary kind of improves. Your young guys kind of step up. But like Thorne just kind of puts an inherent ceiling on your entire team. And Freeze being fucking terrible also does as well. I don't want to bail Freeze out. Freeze being as bad at what he does also puts a ceiling on your team. So that's it.